So we've got a little bit of healthy sideways ranging happening here on Bitcoin. Bitcoin managed to find support successfully at $60,000. We managed to top out at 65, actually a little bit higher than 65k here, which is fantastic. And now we are just going sideways here, which to me is absolutely fantastic, and we're going to be talking about that in this YouTube video. So if you're excited for it like I am, do me a favor and smash up those likes, and while you are down there, check out the links to the exchanges down below. You're getting huge bonuses when you start trading on Bybit, Apex, their decentralized exchange, and Blowfin, a phenomenal alternative. Always check your country's local laws and regulations. We'll come back to that in a minute. But if we take a look at what Bitcoin has been doing here, 60k bounce here, getting rejected at about 64, now kind of somewhere in the middle as we open this new week of trading. And by the way, my camera is misbehaving today, so it's going to keep kind of cutting in and out, but please bear with me. S&P 500 at the same time looking very strong, right? Still standing pretty tall and confident up at these all-time highs. In fact, it looks like the S&P 500 is just kind of getting ready for that next leg up here, which I think is exactly what this market is actually about to do now, and I'm actually very much looking forward to that in this market here. I think that the S&P 500 has a strong chance of continuing to trade up from here with this kind of consolidation. It's the most typical consolidation that we see before it keeps on moving up. And I think that with Bitcoin being where it is now in an area that, in my opinion, this area is not weak, right? I think that's the number one thing that we need to kind of get across, is that Bitcoin's not in a weak place right now. And so if it's stable and if it's kind of going sideways while the S&P 500 is still looking strong, like it's going to start setting all-time highs, to me, that's pretty much only a combination of good things. And it's almost like a wait and see, and something nice might be happening here. Because I think that if the S&P 500 can get that next leg up, I just think that that's generally going to be making, traditional finance and by extension, speculative markets, the markets that are a little bit more risky. I think it's going to be making traditional finance and speculative markets all kind of rise up together, purely because there's just a lot of underlying strength here in the markets. And we're going to see that if we watch the dollar kind of come down a little bit as well. That hasn't quite happened yet. I did mention that, when you move up, you do start kind of opening up the floodgates for you to move back down. And I still think that's what the dollar could be looking at right now. But it's pretty clear that the dollar is also forming a nice bounce off this support level, which we were definitely expecting. We knew that the dollar had a ton of support down here kind of in the 100 range. And yes, of course, it dipped down a little bit, but we're not looking at this as a price action chart. Like, this is, we have to be reasonable about the kind of analysis that we can do on the dollar here. What I think is abundantly clear is that we have started to rise, and this did all come in kind of with the tensions that were brewing a little bit more in the Middle East recently. So I think that kind of explains this quite clearly, almost from a more kind of geopolitical standpoint. But again, the effect on the market, very limited. I mean, the markets are still looking pretty damn happy. And so if the S&P 500 is looking this strong, I just have to expect that it's going to be dragging Bitcoin up with it. And obviously, I know that we are, just 3 minutes into this video, but pretty much everything I've said has been about traditional finance so far. But that's because, and it's the key point that I keep bringing forward to you on this YouTube channel, is yes, I know that you're here for Bitcoin, me too, but it's abundantly clear at this stage, and we've been looking at evidence of this for many, many months. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on this time-sensitive content, so you don't miss the developing story. But we've been looking at this for many, many months, and it is abundantly clear that the S&P 500 and just traditional finance in general is the number one thing in terms of importance for Bitcoin and for Bitcoin's health, trending upwards. It's super, super clear. I think we've been seeing it for a long time at this stage, and I'm not going to lie to myself about it. To me, it's very, very obvious what's going on. And so I want to make sure that I'm analyzing things responsibly. Let's take a look at Bitcoin's dominance. It's holding pretty steady up here at 58%. It's almost like it's kind of found a new range here. So that's very, very interesting. And Ethereum continuing to struggle against Bitcoin here, mustering up a little bit of a bounce. But again, when we talk about the strength of bounces in these markets, I think that this tells you everything that you need to know. We're on the hourly time frame here. And what I like to do when I'm assessing a bounce is, first, I want to identify what's the bounce level. And clearly, it's down here. And then the next thing I want to do is I want to assess how long does it take to break out of the range, right? Let's say that resistance for this bounce level is kind of like right here, right? This green box. How long does it take from this bounce until we get out of the range? On this occasion here, it took 1 day and 20 minutes. 1 day and 20 hours. From this occasion here, it's been 5 days, and we still haven't gotten above the green box. Let me repeat that. We fell down to the bottom here, and it took us basically 2 days to break out of this range. On this occasion here, we fell down and we haven't broken out, and it's been 5 days. And I think that tells us a lot about the residual weakness in the altcoin market. This is Ethereum. This is the biggest altcoin that exists, and it's looking like it's going to cave again. That doesn't mean it has to, right? We've been in this situation before, and then bam, you get a nice bounce, right? So it doesn't have to work like that, but it's the way that it's been working for, I mean, you know, a very, very long time, and I just don't see that changing right now. So I think that's going to be really, really important for us right now, because that is going to continue to potentially open up some really nice altcoin entries, you know, which is what I'm interested in. I do want to buy these altcoins. I'm just waiting for, you know, and there's no point rushing as well. I think this is really important. A lot of people are like fucking trigger happy and a bit like ADHD about this, and they, you know, they really need to trade. They really need to do something because, you know, they want to make money. But let me tell you something, ladies and gents. You know, these markets, they don't care about if you have financial problems. These markets don't care about, you know, if you're trading because, you know, you need to make ends meet, which you really shouldn't be trading anyway if you're in a tight position. But more than that, you know, they don't care that if you're, you know, if you're behind on your ambition to buy a nice car or, you know, to pay off your mortgage. The markets just don't give a fuck, right? And we've got to put it out there. We've got to say it like it is. We've got to make it very, very clear, because if you can start to view it that way, then all of a sudden, all of this energy of like, shit, I need to do something, you know, I need to buy something, I need to move my money there, or I need to, you know, do this or do that, that's going to evaporate. It's just going to disappear, you know, when you keep this in mind, because then you're going to start seeing the market for what it is, which is, it's just moving between levels. And if the market is showing you weakness, but you're feeling trigger happy because you want to trade, it ain't going to work for you, right? And if you watch channels like this, that's going to help you kind of control that a lot more, you know, and if you have any problem controlling it, then you're absolutely, you're fucked. There's no other way to put it. You're in the gutter. There's no, you know, you have no saving grace. You know, but if you can control it, if you can actually see these markets for what they are, then you will understand that there hasn't been an entry anywhere on these kind of charts, you know, for altcoins for a very, very long time. And that's okay, right? It's more important to wait and get a better entry than it is to satisfy your trigger-happy gambling nature. You really got to say it like it is. You got to look yourself in the mirror and understand that if you've been in altcoins over this period, you probably fall into that camp and you probably lost money for it, you know? And that ain't happening by accident. I mean, this is Ethereum, right? I mean, we're talking about Bitcoin's dominance. This chart means that everything has lost money over the last 2 years. And by the way, it was indeed 2 years, because it was October of 2022, you know, that we kind of started our chance at rallying up. So it has been 2 years now, you know, that we've kind of started to rally up. And this is Bitcoin's dominance, right? There are notable exceptions like Solana, but they don't disprove the rule. And by the way, on the note of Solana, what a bullish chart. I mean, this looks like it is going to explode. You know, and so, you know, I'm very, very interested in these altcoins. You know, I haven't found my entries yet. I do have a little bit of Solana, but I am very interested in seeing where they might go. But look, I'm not going to beat around the bush more. Let's take a look back at Bitcoin. Let's really break down what Bitcoin is doing. We've been looking at everything except for Bitcoin so far in this YouTube video. If you have enjoyed it, do me a favor and smash up those likes. And like I said, while you are down there, huge bonuses. I mean, Bybit's going to be the best in the game. There's no doubt about it. You know, they've been running for a very, very long time. And if we take a look at, you know, just some basic numbers, like even their volume, which I don't know if I can pull up right now, but they are, you know, head and shoulders above basically everything else in this space. We can take a look at markets, and you can probably pull that up right here when it decides to load. 1.3 billion on just one particular Bitcoin contract here, you know, in 24 hours. So good, strong volume here on Bybit, and yeah, they've got every bit of tech that you might want. So definitely well worth checking out. Apex is their decentralized exchange, so you have full self-custody here. Really, really big deal, in my opinion. That's a big benefit here. And then, of course, we got Blowfin, which is a phenomenal alternative to all of them. I've really been loving Blowfin. They've got huge bonuses when you start trading. All of them are well worth checking out, but only after you check your country's laws. If we bring it back here to Bitcoin now, though, and take a look at its kind of key levels, we've still got the same key levels for invalidation as far as I'm concerned, right? I think it's going to be pretty obvious. I think we're looking at kind of 60K down here as being a kind of floor that we don't really want Bitcoin to break, especially because we got that bounce, right? I was talking to you about how this bounce might mature for the market, and I think that this is it. I think this is how the bounce is maturing. You know, I said that we've got to kind of rally up quite high, but the other thing that which I actually forgot to say, to be honest, was, is that if you just trade sideways for a while, or more specifically, if you don't return to this level for a while, that's going to validate it, right? Put it this way. If you did something like this, then, whatever, it was like a super interim short-term level. But if you're doing something like this, then actually you're spending some time above this level, right? And that's giving it, it's cementing the level a little bit more. It's like letting the cement settle, and turn into concrete. It's kind of the same thing here. You're letting it harden, you're letting it kind of boil and do its thing. And that to me makes these levels, something that I would, validate, basically. And so the reason I think that that's important is that gives us a pretty nice, clear, psychological round level, $60,000 flat, a nice round number, which we can say is, going to be a kind of line in the sand for Bitcoin. And I think that if Bitcoin gets below this, it's going to get a little bit trickier for Bitcoin. I'm not super optimistic about what might happen below. I'm still fine with it, right? I mean, look at this. This is 57K. It looks pretty beautiful. 58K, even better. You know what I mean? So there's still support levels below, and I maintain the same perspective that I've been maintaining for a long time. Is it possible that we, do something a little bit like this and then carry on? I mean, it would make perfect sense. It would really kind of fit in line with these higher lows that we've been setting, right? I mean, this one is almost a little bit too high, and a little bit too quick as well. But the time gap, between, this low and this low, this was a 32-day gap. Now we're up to 28. It just gives it a little bit more time to mature. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen, but I am pointing out that I really don't think that if we get down there, it's going to be a tragedy. And I think that if we did get down there, I think a lot of people would see it as a tragedy. So that's why I'm putting that out there. And then on the upside, again, it's sweeping that high. This is what we've got to do. We're kind of in no man's land until we sweep either of these two levels, which has been the case basically for the last 7 months. But again, that's okay, right? I think what we're seeing here is a lot of people just dying of boredom in this market. I mean, they're just tapping out because they can't sustain all of the boredom in this market, and that's okay. I mean, I'm not upset by that. I'm actually quite happy by it, because that's how you kind of, that's how you get those weaker hands to sell. And there has been, by the way, I haven't shown it to you guys, but there has been some on-chain data to suggest that small holders, retail holders have been selling their Bitcoin, and bigger holders have kind of been accumulating it. So, it's exactly what you would expect, right? I mean, if you and I kind of level with each other, which is what this video is anyway, right? When I kind of put my webcam up on full screen and we're talking like this, if we level and, imagine that we're just kind of sitting around and, over a coffee or just sitting, you and I, in a room, what are we going to talk about with regards to the ETF? We're obviously going to talk about, when the ETF launches, the big players, the really big players who are much more important than you and I in terms of, financial power, they don't want to buy Bitcoin on the back of us making profits. That they want a stable, good price level to be buying Bitcoin. And I can't think of what this is other than that, a 7-month consolidation where the price barely moves and it's just slowly trending down, and you've got amazing opportunities to slowly and quietly buy, right after the ETF's launch. I mean, if we imagine that this happened 2 years ago, and we're looking back on current events, it's really obvious, ladies and gents. I think it's really obvious what's going on, where these are phenomenal opportunities for those deeper pocket buyers to be buying before things get really crazy, right? And that election is still, it's like exactly a month away at the time of me recording the video right now. So that's plenty of time for things to start kind of turning and getting super bullish before that election as well, which is exactly what we were expecting, right? We've actually made a video addressing exactly that. Some of you guys haven't seen it, and I really highly recommend that you do watch it. It was only posted 12 days ago, and it is basically my US election strategy. This is such a well-edited video. I'm honestly super happy with it. By the way, ignore all of these scam comments. It's really annoying. But if we go ahead and skip this ad right here, look at the beautiful editing on this video here. You got to check it out. This is super high production quality and amazing insights in that video. Well worth it. But I think that's going to be kind of the key two levels on Bitcoin here. We do have a lot more to go through, though. We got Crypto Rover Shore here saying that this is the most boring consolidation phase that he's ever seen on Bitcoin. That's somewhat agreeable. I don't know. I actually disagree. I think that this consolidation was worse. First of all, it lasted a little bit longer than what we're in right now, although I think we might even be even now. I think this is like about equal to this right now. But I think the reason this was a lot worse was because, first of all, it was a hell of a lot more sideways than what we're currently doing, so we had less going on. But secondly, it was at a really fucking low level. I mean, just to cast your minds back, I mean, and I think everybody's forgotten this, but this consolidation started, a short 500 days after the all-time high. I mean, if we measure this back, I mean, it was only 280 days before this consolidation that Bitcoin was higher than 30K. And it wasn't higher by a little bit. It was at like 38K or 48K or 50 or 60. Do you know what I mean? Like, this was, the recent memory that we had while Bitcoin was here was of Bitcoin being double the price. Bitcoin was at a very low level when this consolidation happened, and today it's significantly higher. So it's more than double. So I think that when you sprinkle a little bit of perspective into these conversations, I disagree, but I think that a lot of other people will still agree. So we're talking about it anyway. Here we've got Titan of Crypto. Bitcoin breakout is around the corner. Bitcoin is gearing up for a move higher soon. And if we take a look at this chart right here, we got a little bit of oscillator action here showing some really nice kind of gains coming in with these crossovers. Do I agree with this? Yes, 100%. I think you guys could tell when I started talking about... my image is pulled. Sorry about that. When I started talking about, these kind of situations where people on Twitter are posting analysis that I agree with. There we go. I'm back. Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on. When we start talking about that stuff, it almost pains me a little bit to agree with these people on Twitter sometimes, because I just think that they're too bullish. I think that it's comedic how bullish they are. But they're right. At least this guy is definitely right. From what I'm seeing right here, it's the same kind of pattern, with the oscillators crossing over, MACD looking strong here. You know what I mean? Like it's, I'm not surprised that we're getting these technical signs coming in here, and I think that the timing is perfect. So, I am in agreement. We look at the fear and greed index, and it's kind of stable sideways in the neutral territory. I mean, this is really good. I mean, we're pulling back, and we're still, and we're above 60K, and we're only neutral. I mean, I'm really happy with what I'm seeing here across the board from all of these different perspectives. We got Bob Lucas here, one of the crypto gods, a lot of people would probably say. And here we've got Bob Lucas saying, sometimes a script looks too perfect that it's hard to believe. Bitcoin closes the second year of its 4-year cycle next month, entering the third and historically explosive year of the cycle. An 8-month base has been built, sentiment reset, rates are easing. I mean, the script is perfect. I mean, again, it's exactly what I've been saying on this YouTube channel for a very long time. I'm just going to hide my webcam because I don't know why it's pausing so much, but it's exactly what I've been saying for a really, really long time between, I'm not really looking at like his 4-year super cycle theory, although it seems to be 100% correct so far. But what I am looking at is, dude's talking about a 7, or in this case 8, but it's not 8. I don't know where he's getting 8 months from. But a 7-month base has been built. Sentiment resetting. We were literally just talking about that. Sentiment's literally smack bang in the middle, which is just absolutely amazing. Rates are. It's just everything. Everything is there. To give us that perfect storm for this market to explode, and I just mean just absolutely take off. And I really think that it's going to be something which is possible for Bitcoin here. Bob Lucas, he's not. I don't know why I don't follow him. Bob Lucas is not somebody that you want to fade. Bob Lucas is not somebody that you necessarily want to disagree with. It's quite painful historically to be on the opposing side of him. But the thing about Bob Lucas is that he's just so slow with his predictions, right? I mean, what he's talking about is stuff that happens on such a long time frame that, if you're a more kind of sensible long-term trader or investor, then, this is going to be right up your alley. But if you're not, and you're a little bit more kind of hyper and trigger happy and, dare I say, even desperate, you're going to start to have problems with the things that he says. But I think obviously the correct approach, you can probably tell from what I'm saying, the correct approach is to be a little bit slower you know, in building a thesis and you know, stuff like that. I just think that generally most people are gonna, you know, have better results if they behave a little bit more like that. That's kind of the key point that I think is really, really important. And so, you know, with all of that in mind, yeah, I think, you know, Bob Loukas, phenomenal analyst and trader. And again, just very much in line with what we've been talking about before. By the way, Bob, if you're watching this by any chance, you want to have a show, let's do something together, man. But yeah, if we come over here, this one's super interesting. We've got a view into total US debt. And we have now reached, I should say, because I'm proudly not part of this, have now reached $36 trillion. I say we because it affects all of us in the world, right? I mean, it doesn't matter if you're American or not. This is going to be a problem for you. But unless you're, you know, benefiting from America's demise, but very few people are going to benefit from America having a problem, I think. You know, even if it looks like they're on opposing sides, it's really not good for anybody. But 36 trillion, you know, here we've got the next line saying this is why we need Bitcoin. I can't see the link for why we need Bitcoin to solve US debt, but I'm sure that there's some loose reasoning that you can apply for why Bitcoin solves this problem. It doesn't, but US debt definitely looking pretty strong anyway, and I think that that's interesting, you know, because, yeah, I mean, you know, it's not a good setup. You know, bad things kind of have to happen, you know, with a setup like this. What does that mean for Bitcoin? I don't know. Maybe it means with rates easing that we go into another period of massive inflation, everything gets more expensive again, and our investments go up again. I don't know. If it happens, you better hope your investments massively outpace inflation. I think that's going to be a really, really big problem, but anyway, we're not talking too much about that. We're back to the Bitcoin price here. We're stable. We got 2 levels of invalidation. It's about waiting to see which one of these pop. I still think we're going up. I still think we're setting all-time highs. I still think we're very, very bullish in this market, and I think everything is still pointing in that direction. It would be hard to shake me from this. We would have to lose kind of 57, 58. We would have to lose about $58,000 as support, you know, for me to start turning sour on this market again. But that's far away. That's about $4,000 away, and, you know, a couple pretty strong areas of support away. So I don't really see that happening, but, you know, we'll wait and see. We'll see how this goes. I really hope you've enjoyed this one, ladies and gents. You know what to do if you have. Make sure you check out the links to these exchanges below. Like I said, Apex, a completely decentralized exchange, super, super cool offer. And Blowfin, just giving you tons of bonuses and huge volume here as well. 2.6 billion on Bitcoin's volume here on their main contract. So lots and lots going on Blowfin as well. Well worth checking out this exchange. You're gonna continue to see Blowfin a lot as time goes on. So definitely check all that out, and your own laws as well. Always worth keeping that in mind. But ladies and gents, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers.